PLD Projects presents Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast, featuring PLD and Matty Gunner. May the Force be with you, always. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to PLD Projects. Welcome back to Holy Snokes, the Star Wars podcast. And Maddie, guess it's better late than never. We are definitely coming onto this a little bit later than usual. Everybody's already got.
We're not the only ones, to be fair. We're not the only ones. I've seen a few people that a bit week late for obvious reasons, but we have a legit one at least.
We do. Last week, I was definitely ill, really ill to the point I got sick over the weekend. And then, I mean, you don't know, maybe you do know, I have asthma, and it really triggered my asthma. And I basically really couldn't breathe. It was like the old Karate Kid Part 3 axiom: man can't breathe, man can't fight. So it was really kind of tough. Like, that was the worst part, because that's when I really got sick, was that Tuesday night. I watched Ahsoka. But I tried. I was going to get up and do it the next day to do our recording here, but I just couldn't do it. I was going to be hacking all over. It wouldn't have been fun. But it actually leads me to some interesting ideas. I kind of feel like this is an interesting way for us to go, because every time we do the show for review purposes, we'd watch it on Tuesday night and we'd get it in as best we can. And then we get in there, we rush into it, and boom, it's kind of like all done in like 24 hours. This time we kind of had a chance to like sit on it, reflect on it a little bit. These are not exactly our first views anymore. I got to see how, like, we got to really get to dwell in it and see how we really feel. So I'm interested to see if it's any different this time than it has been for the previous 7 episodes and all the Bad Batch stuff we did before like that. I'm intrigued. But it was quite the finale. It's quite the finale. Obviously, we're talking about Ahsoka season finale. And the season finale, we hope at this point.
Come on.
All I know is that I'm tired. I don't want to be the one who ever like looks forward and says this is definitely happening. We know that technically speaking, there's nothing been announced. There's nothing been in the trades. You're saying it's not even officially declared
because they can't. Who can confirm it right now? Who can confirm it?
Right. Dave Filoni, good, maybe.
He's a writer.
Well, the writer's strike's over now.
But they're still in solidarity with the actors.
True, but he could confirm that season 2 is coming. That's a
I don't think he would. I trust the man in the hat. I question his morality at times, but I feel like this is something that he's just like, I've had this planned forever.
I think it's been that way too. I do. I honestly do. I will say the one thing we do know, the one hint we got either way was, I believe it was a Star Wars Twitter. I don't know, it was a UK Twitter. One of those official Star Wars Twitter accounts did announce something to the effect of tonight is the series finale of Ahsoka, and then deleted that tweet and reposted it later on and said season finale of Ahsoka. So that's
Rosario's been talking about a season 2 for months, and as much as I love Rosario, the woman can't keep her mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
She's like Giancarlo in that way. It's just like she'll say stuff that she's probably been made privy to and told to keep stum about, but she's just like, I don't care.
True, but most of her comments have been about wanting to get a season 2, though, haven't they?
Yeah, but how much of that do you think is if this show does well, you're probably in line for a season 2? And she's been like saying to the audience, hey guys, wouldn't it be great if there was a season 2? Huh?
Well, we do know that story-wise, at the very least, taking away any kind of business side of things, any kind of whatever, story-wise, we are definitely in need of a season 2. I mean, I guess bare bones, they could go right into the movie that Dave Filoni has been announced to direct. But I gotta feel like there's gonna be this. We're gonna have a lot more to go. We have Skeleton Crew coming up, obviously. We have Mando season 4 coming up, which itself, we're gonna talk about a lot of these rumors with the upcoming Disney Plus stuff after our review of the episode. But But then I got to get out of Ahsoka season 2 at this point specifically. So we will get there. I think we will. I think it'll definitely happen. I think it's a matter of time before we announce it. I think they're starting to get after with the strikes, the writer's strike ending finally. Congratulations to the writers getting a solid deal. It appears that most people are at least happy with. I don't think everybody ever gets everything
I think
they
it
want.
got codified this week. I think.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe they were pretty happy with it overall. Like I said, not everybody's ever fully happy with anything, but at least a deal has been struck and definitely in the right direction. And of course, the actors are still striking, but they're meeting this week. The all buzz about town and buzz everything is that they believe that a deal is going to be happening sometime this week or perhaps early next week to get everything back kind of on track. And I think that's part of the issue with maybe announcing season 2 is they want to figure out when everything's going to be taking place, what's going down when, so they can say, "Oh, this is going to happen here, and plan it all out now."
I won't believe that it's a real thing until Dan Mel does a video saying it's a real thing.
Fair. That's fair. It's a good point. Good point. Hopefully, actually, they're meeting today, as far as I know. From what I've heard, they're meeting today, even. So hopefully, we can get maybe by the time you watch this video, maybe a deal has been at least put in place.
Knowing us, it probably will. The news will probably break just as you and I click in leave.
It'll be right. Yeah, exactly. Right as we leave the air, that's when it'll come into play. But today we are going to talk about the season finale. We're going to break that down for you in our typical Holy Snokes fashion. I myself am PLD. Welcome to PLD Project. Like I said, click that like, click that subscribe, all that good stuff. Let us know what you feel. My sidekick here, my co-pilot, my man with the hair, Matty Gunner. I didn't know about it. How have you been? We talked about my being ill and everything and recovering. How have you been?
I've been alright. Just been busy in your absence, trying to, fill the time that I would normally have spent talking about Star Wars with you, doing other things that apparently you're supposed to do in real life, like go to work. And
What's that?
I know it's why would anyone want to go to work when you just sit and watch Star Wars all day?
Well, you did fill your time very productively at one point because we had a friend of the podcast, Ken Knapsack, released a comedy album just yesterday, I believe it was yesterday. Yesterday.
It was yesterday.
And,
yes,
I got it. Yeah, I got it first thing. The Bandcamp, a special edition with extra bonus tracks. But you, my friend, worked on it. How did that come about? And how did that go?
I would love to tell you how it came about, but to this day, I'm still confused as to how it came about. Because I just was talking to Ken over text one day, and me and Ken will have this thing where we'll get partway through a conversation, and then we'll break for a while. One of us won't reply. But I'm a terrible tech. You know this very well. I am awful at texting back. Awful. You're better off. If it's a life or death scenario, you're better off just calling me. Do a POD and call me at 4 o'clock in the morning while he's drunk with Mike Deacon in New Jersey.
That's fair.
Which that was a real thing that did happen. But then I just get a text from Ken saying, "Hey, that London show that comedy show in London that I did that you were at? I want to release it as a special. Do you want to produce it?" I was like, "Wait, whoa, what?" Okay. Sure.
That works. Absolutely.
And it was more of a editing and engineering side of things, which I can do, but my expertise in that are very limited. When it comes to production, I'm more of when it comes to music, helping make the song better, arrangement and stuff like that. When it comes to actual engineering and editing, I could do a basic run through and make kind of polish a turd kind of thing. But obviously for Ken, I was like, okay, this is essentially a dream of his. So I want this to sound as great as I can possibly get it.
Right.
So I pulled in my songwriting partner of, I can't believe I'm saying this, and my songwriting partner and producer of 15 years, a man who went to university to study music engineering and production, Matt Hart, my best friend in the entire fucking world. And he was just like, yeah, we've never done a comedy album before. We've only ever done music together. He actually helped me also write for our good friend Dan Bettenhausen for the Fantastic Four podcast. He helped me write their intro. So it was just kind of like, yeah, Ken's trusting me with this. I did everything I could, but I still didn't feel like it was a quality that I wanted to give to Ken to be like, here you go, this is the
Right.
final product. So I pulled in Matt, and I was just like, dude, here's what I've done. Do your thing to it, and like make it better, make it
Better.
like as professional as you can. And yeah, it was a learning experience for me. Like it was for both of us because we'd never done a comedy album, so it was like all that, like the crowd mic and the stage mic and everything kind of blending together. It was like, okay, how do we get it? So it was a challenge, really.
Right.
It was something we'd never done, and I wanted it to be the best that we could get it. And I'm pretty damn proud of what we did.
Challenge accepted, and you've seen it through, my friend. So congratulations to you as well.
Yeah, thank
Hopefully, you
you.
guys will go out and buy
I
that
mean,
back.
I'm just a small cog in the wheel. This is Ken's dream. This is Ken's, Ken's
Of course.
baby. And obviously, I didn't write any of his material. I'm nowhere near as funny. I truly believe Ken Knapsack to be one of the funniest men on the planet,
Mm.
and it speaks to it when I've listened to that album about 10,000 times in editing it. I've heard those jokes so many damn times. And it still makes me laugh when I listen to it. I listened to it again last night when for release day, and I was just like, yeah, this is people gonna like this.
Right. Right. Good for you. Good for Ken. Friend of the show, of course, we want to help him out. So go to get kenknapsack.com and I'll have all links to
In my
Bandcamp
day,
and things like that. In my day.
there's like 20 so minutes of extra comedy done at the American Comedy Club in San Diego, California, which I believe he did SDCC weekend.
Correct.
There's a interview of Ken interviewing himself, but I think it's like different characters. Yours truly has a little. Not only do I have the production and everything on it, I may have a little cameo somewhere. You have to listen. You may have to listen out for it, but
It'll be there. Okay. Well, that's excellent. I hope you guys check that out as well for our for both for Maddie and for Ken, of course, your friends other podcast. Now, before how we run things on Holy Snokes, we usually go through news first, then go through our meat and potatoes of the day. When it's a show going on, like Ahsoka or Bad Batch, we tend to shirk on the news a little bit. We want to concentrate mostly on the actual content, on the actual review, because that's what you're here for. And we're going to do the same thing today. We do curate our news from StarWarsNewsNet.com. I think that's the best place to get your news from. They usually have a good job. They do a good job of cutting the wheat from the chaff, separating the wheat from the chaff, as far as like what's really real, what's a rumor, what's not true. So I don't want to have a lot of news to talk about today, so I want to dive into Ahsoka. But one thing I think we really should at least touch on, we did have the passing of Shauna Tripsick, who's a costume designer in The Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka. Passed away young at 56. What a sad thing. Young woman. Obviously, I love all of the costumes from the Disney Plus shows. I think it's been one of their strong suits. It's really been something that's really held the galaxy together, as far as it feels like the galaxy far, far away. And you got a chance to actually, touch base with her once.
I met in passing. This was very much in passing a while ago, and it was at Celebration Anaheim, I believe, if I remember it correctly. And it was very much just hey, you're like, I kind of, there's so many people in Star Wars that work for like ILM and in the creature shop and everything that you like, who they are, like you've seen them, and then like they'll walk past you in person. You're like, wait a second, was that
all right?
But yeah, incredibly talented young lady. I think there are so few people out there that are that put so much effort into something that they love to do for something that it extends beyond them and the thing they are creating for. I know from speaking to like people in the costuming department, sorry, in the costuming space, and like being in different discords and looking on Instagram, like so many people. Mike Forster, shout out Mike from Armor Pie podcast, Hondo Display, and thank the maker. Uh, Gave a beautiful tribute to her on their last episode of just how important she was to the costuming community, how she inspired so many people to create these incredible costumes. I mean, just looking at her resume, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, she even worked on shows like Firefly, Angel, like
Cabin in the Woods, Dr. Horrible Sing Along Blog, Dollhouse, a lot of
right?
great stuff. Yeah.
A lot of great stuff. And it seemed from, I'm very new to the costuming scene, so like obviously like I dude, it's so difficult to like, well, because like someone's so young, it's just like how
Yeah.
do you comprehend that? It's just someone so talented, who gave so much to like so many people without her even knowing.
Right.
And it's,
Absolutely.
I'm sure she did know, but like the amount of people that I have seen pay tribute to her over the last few days on like social media and Discord and like the costume space, like different channels and different creators and different costumers, that's like, I truly hope she knows the mark that she left, because it can't be understated. It's massive. It's huge.
To finish it up, I'll talk about. Let's leave the comments that Dave Filoni and John Favreau said. Dave Filoni quoted saying, "Shauna had a deep love and appreciation for Star Wars. You can see that in every piece of work she did with us. She loved everything about being a part of these stories, including connecting with fans and being a part of that community. I feel like she always has been a part of Star Wars. Her costumes tell a story, providing a suggestion of a life experience that happened before the cameras rolled. I love collaborating with Shauna, and I'll miss her presence." And John followed up with, "Her creativity brought this world to life. She'll be deeply missed as both a friend and a colleague." So, um, so rest in
Yeah, I know
peace.
she appeared. She showed up. She was like a guest at the last Mosh Isley event, which is like where loads of people. It's where like punk and emo and Star Wars connect. And, like loads of people dress up. Like there was the someone went as the Black Parade Black Chrysanthemum. They mixed the My Chemical Romance Black Parade costume with Black Chrysanthemum, and she apparently she lost her mind at seeing something as cool as that. So it's just like someone who is that who gives back to the community as much as she does,
Absolutely.
and that dude, I'm struggling to find the word because it's such a fucking shame, dude. It
No,
really is such a shame when someone so talented is
100%.
like just is gone. I mean, no one's
Yeah.
ever really gone, but like, damn, dude, like,
All right. All right. Well, rest in peace. Let's take a moment, and we do appreciate everything she's done. And it's always sad when we lose somebody, and we lose somebody so young, but she definitely has left her mark. Um, all right, that's all the news we want to talk about today. At this point, let's get into the reason why everyone is here, getting our reaction and result to the series season finale, I should say, of Ahsoka, and it was quite an interesting finale. We always have to break these down into segments as we go through them, but a lot happened. A lot was left open to happen. Some things kind of came true. Some things kind of were not circulated, which is why we want to say there's definitely going to be a season 2, because there's definitely some storylines that were left wide open
I
as
love
far
it.
as what's going to go moving forward. Overall, I definitely highly enjoyed the episode. I had some nitpicks about it. There's some things that I wasn't as big on. What were your overall thoughts before we get into it?
That was great.
Great.
I thought at first I was kind of like, shit, aren't you fucking leaving it this open? Are you serious? And then I remembered, I was like, I've been saying this before that they were announced. I said it back when you and me were the guest on Bedor's show, The Holocron, that like I predicted that. I am Mystic Matt. Like I predicted that they were going to do an Avengers Endgame style movie with Thrawn as the big bad. And you can't have him just like be defeated straight away. Like they've got to like open the door for
Right.
what's to come. And I
Right.
was at the end of the first watch, I was like, God damn it, he got away. Like, we didn't really see a lot of things. There were some things that I was like, we didn't really see. I would have loved to have seen, like, okay, I guess my one nitpick, Ezra could have had a hug. Like, could have given Ezra a hug.
You'd think they learned from the Leia Chewbacca debacle of The Force Awakens, where everybody went on. The funny thing is, some people like took that too far too. Some nitpicks, as always, they go a little bit far on things
That's
and really
such a
get
small
overexcited
nitpick,
about
though.
it. It is. It really is. Like, I feel like it definitely happened. The hug was there. We just need to get a chance to see it. Yeah, okay. They could have lingered on that shot a little bit more.
He could have hit, like, I was waiting for him to hit Chopper on the head. Like, I was waiting for that moment to come, so they would be like, oh, that's that. They would have been like, oh, that's Ezra.
Right. All right, let's get into. We'll break down some of the stuff and some of my nitpicks as we go through, and I'm gonna challenge some other people's nitpicks as well.
Okay.
All in a fun way. I think we know that we try to be positive here on Holy Snokes. For now, as we do it. All right, the first category we always dive deep into. It is, of course, our patron saint of the podcast. It is Honda Watch 2023.
Who wants to see Honda? Talk to me.
Is, of course, did we finally get our appearance of Hondo Ohnaka in Star Wars Media on TV? What happened in the Ahsoka finale? Did he come out of nowhere and save the day?
This effort is no longer profitable.
No, he did not.
I thought I did see him at one point.
Okay.
I thought I saw one of those sarcophagus, one of those coffins, like, open. I was like, is Hondo hiding in one of those coffins? Because we've seen him hide in, like, something like that before.
That's true. I
was like, is Hondo hiding in one of those?
To be fair, I didn't expect him at this point. He was going to appear in the series. It had been a couple of episodes before. I had a small, maybe, hope that we would see Hera leave the military or something and then come up and meet with Hondo somewhere else. But it was not to be. We are still Hondo-less. Let's go, Skeleton Crew. Let's see you change that for us, please. Next up, we call Once a Rebel, Always
Once a rebel, always a rebel.
And this is where we actually go through bit by bit and kind of give it a plot summary. Slowly, not going deep dive too much. We're going to touch bases on some things as we break it down and go from there. So we start off right at the fortress on Peridia, and Morgan Elsbeth is reporting to Grand Admiral Thrawn about the cargo transfer being complete. We still technically don't know what the cargo is. I think we all have.
I think we got an idea what it's gonna be.
I think we can strongly assume what this is, especially even more so after this episode. But it hasn't been revealed as of yet. You never know until you always have that little sliver of, well, what's Dave got up his sleeve? Is this something that we're not thinking of? But so basically, the idea at this point is they're getting the cargo up. Thrawn's trying to get this out as fast as he can so he can leave. We know we have the crew there. We have Ahsoka, Sabine, and Ezra, and the Nulti are out there a little bit farther away. And it becomes a race. It becomes a race. Thrawn wants to get things done while they come and stop him. So that thus begins the kind of cat and mouse. The whole episode basically becomes a case of, all right, this is what's happening. Thrawn sees what's happening. All right, we're going to send out this group now. All right, that failed. Okay, we're going to send out wave 2. I'm going to send out wave 3. And this is the first nitpick I want to kind of crush back on. Some people in the space have kind of been like, they said that the Thrawn didn't really live up to expectations because he basically lost the entire episode until the end, and he got his big win was him
Who
getting
said
away.
That?
A bunch of people have said
I want names. Who said that?
Yeah, everybody. A lot of people have said that.
You
and
you
to me,
simple-minded fools.
I will counter the argument that he wasn't as intimidating, whatever. That's what they said. To me, was that like Thrawn had a goal. He achieved his goal. And that's all he needed to do. He wasn't trying to destroy Ahsoka. He wasn't trying to destroy Sabine. He had a goal. His simple-minded goal was, I'm going to get this cargo on the ship. I'm going to get my ship back to the other galaxy. And I'm happy if I kill them or if I strand them. I don't really care. And at the end of the day, he made it back and achieved his goal. I don't know what else you need to do for him.
I'm going to assume that is someone who hasn't seen Rebels or read any of the Timothy Zahn books, because if that is someone who has, that shows a gross misunderstanding of the character of Thrawn. War is a game to him. War is a challenge. War is not fun, but it's his playground essentially, where he's like, okay, you're gonna do this, so I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be 3 steps ahead of you. Like he's always 3 steps ahead. But we're not gonna see. It's like the show, like the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies. Like we don't get the reveal until the end of like, this is what I was thinking and this is how it played out. Da, 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 da. Like that is anyone who says like, oh, Thrawn wasn't as intimidating, or check yourself, because
I mean, I will say that the only credit I give that at all is the fact that it's for the people who haven't seen him. This was their introduction to Thrawn. He doesn't come across as like devious as he could, because we don't know what he's doing. We don't understand that concept yet. It still feels like it shouldn't really matter, because it comes down to he had a goal and he achieved the goal, and he reacted. Every time he reacted, it was more like, okay, so this happened. I'm not going to panic. This is the next move up. This is the next man up, and my plan as I make this work. And he actually says specifically that he has fallen to Jedi before, so he said that's not going to happen again. So he's very wary about the Jedi specifically. Now he's going to counter that.
So he went and got help from a bunch of witches.
It's a smart play, very smart play. Okay, so we get Morgan there, and Morgan gets imbued with the Blade of Talzin. Mother Talzin gets a name drop.
Sick.
Very cool. What Ahsoka has done best, I feel, and our friend Alex Damon has said that as well, is that this is kind of getting the weird and fantasy aspect of Star Wars. We have the grounded reality of Andor. This is like the more weird and wild and wacky fantasy stuff. We got magic swords, we got witches, we got all this stuff going on with space whales, all that stuff, kind of cool things going on. But Mother Talzin, the Blade of Talzin, rather, imbuing Morgan, making her more powerful. I'm excited about that.
Where they did the thing where like they put the thumbs on her eyes, and just kind of like the black, kind of like they did with Asajj, when Asajj went back, and like the smoke was coming for her eyes, and she got the black marks on her face. I was like, that's how they do it.
Right. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty sweet.
Cool. The Night Sisters might be my favorite part about this show.
Yeah, I can get that.
Up there.
Interestingly enough, I mean, the Night Sisters is such a great history in Star Wars. Obviously, had their place in the Legends canon, introduced in Legends canon. Legends canon. That's actually sounds whatever. You know what I mean, though. Legends.
Yeah,
and then canon, I got brought back in by canon by Dave. Yeah, it's an interesting part of the thing, and it's a good way for them to counter the Jedi in a way. But we'll get that great shot at the end there with like Thrawn standing there, this TIE fighter is like flying over towards, heading towards the encampment, so to speak, or the moving caravan, I should say. But then we jump to the moving caravan, and we have one of the more interesting parts of the story. It's a slow part, but man, I love the conversation between Ezra and Huyang, and Sabine as well. We got obviously the name drop of Kanan Jarrus again, and I love the fact that Huyang's like, yeah, mentions Caleb, which is the good thing. He knows Kanan Jarrus is, mentions Caleb specifically. And what a great time for Ezra to learn stuff from Huyang, and Huyang to like kind of learn things from Ezra as well. It was just a great Star Wars moment watching him rebuild his lightsaber, or sorry, build a new lightsaber, I should say. And man, that touching moment when he uses the emitter, the Kanan, the one that Kanan he's been holding for Kanan. Like, this one was for Kanan. I only had one more. It's very fitting that you should get that, and it's a blue lightsaber to boot.
I love when Dave throws little jabs at the fans into his dialogue. Because when he was like, "Oh, the emitter's too narrow," I was just like, "That's definitely the fans saying, oh, the lightsaber blades in Rebels were too thin."
Right. Which was one of the first big complaints about the show in a way. The art side of things was that the lightsabers were too thin. But at the same time, I think people grew to accept it. It's one of those things that, like, a lot of times things can happen that become kind of in joke with the fans. Like, people were serious about that at first. And like it or not, I mean, some people, you could argue that the art for Rebels. I mean, I got to be honest. When I first watched Rebels, I wasn't enthralled with the artistic design at first. I thought it was kind of childish in a way. I didn't really love it, especially coming off of what Clone Wars was. But
Mm.
it not anything that ever stopped me from watching it, obviously. And eventually, I grew into it, as one does after through 46 with 4 seasons. But a lot of people did complain about that at first, but now it's gotten to the point where it's kind of come around, where it's like that. It's that inside joke with the family member now, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
a fun little
It's
nudge.
like
Nudge
we were mad about that. Like, why did we care about that? Yeah, I did feel that, like, I see a lot of people saying that, like, they wished that the conversation with Caleb about where, like, talking about Kanan as Caleb should have happened when Hera and Jason were there. But I was like, that's I don't feel like that's the right moment to have with those characters. I feel like
Okay.
Ezra should be the one to tell Jason about his dad,
Yeah.
not Hu Yang.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's
Or
for sure.
Hera or Ezra. I feel like it should come from one of those two.
So, do you think that Jason doesn't know much about his father? Is that what you're saying?
I think he knows that his dad was a Jedi. I feel like he knows, because obviously he's a kid, right? You're not gonna tell him everything.
Right.
There's gonna be some things that they're gonna be like, we're gonna wait till he's the right age, and then we'll tell him.
Right. That's fair. That's fair. Okay, so basically, at that point, it comes to be a point where they start talking about masters and apprentices, and they're obviously pointed towards Sabine and her troubled relationship with Ahsoka. And she leaves, and Ezra kind of gets the information in an exposition done from Hu Yang. We get to learn a little bit more about what happened to Sabine and her family. Obviously, the Empire. It was kind of I think this was a new development. We learned that the Empire purged them or purged Mandalore after. I kind of assumed it was a little bit before, but it makes sense now considering what we saw at the end of the epilogue, that Sabine's family was killed afterwards. I don't know if that makes it a part of Operation Cinder, or if that was like a little bit connected.
I think it was part of the purge.
Part of the purge.
I think it was part of the Night of a Thousand Tears. Right.
That's what I don't see. I've seen theories now that it might these are two different things possibly. So I don't know. Maybe it is part of the same thing. I don't know. Well, that's something maybe we're going to learn more of as we go further. I feel that's great though. I think that's what Dave has always done very well, is he kind of drops tidbits of things and later on goes back and fills them in. Much like the old days when Obi-Wan told Luke Skywalker about his father being in the Clone Wars or whatever. Then we learned about the Clone Wars a lot later on.
It's the Back to the Future quote, right? It's like, I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet. But your kids are gonna love it.
Love it. Yeah, absolutely. Just watched that yesterday, by the way. It's out on the screen. It's great timing. But anyway, we go back outside. We get to see a great conversation again between Ahsoka and Sabine, where Ahsoka and Sabine really finally get to talk for the first time really since Ahsoka had her meeting with Anakin in the World Between Worlds, really, and has changed her mindset about things. And Ahsoka realizes her failings as a master and what she has to do. The fact that Anakin always had her side, no matter what happened, no matter what went down, no matter what mistakes were made. She knows Sabine makes mistakes, and Sabine's going to make mistakes, but she has to know that she has her back as a master. And it really felt like those two finally connected in a way we hadn't seen yet. And it was a great development for the story, a great culmination of the story. Especially as we know, again, it's leading towards season 2. It's like this is where we need to reset us for the rest of the storyline at this point. But it's a great moment. I like this conversation quite a bit. One of my favorite of the series, to be honest with you. Even though it's a nice, small, subtle conversation. What did you think about it?
Yeah, I thought it was a really good kind of bringing them back together to set up what's to come. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect for Sabine to be as open to it as she was. I feel like there still would have been that like hesitation, because she did essentially leave to go off with Balin and Shin and Thrawn and the Night Sisters. But so yeah, seeing them like come together as master and apprentice, I was like, damn, that's cool.
Right. Absolutely.
We finally have a Mandalorian Jedi again. Sorry, it's not Grogu. Sucks to be him.
It's funny that we always thought Grogu was going to be the first one in a while, but it's going to be Sabine. Nobody had any thoughts about Sabine, but we'll get there too.
Gee, I wonder why.
The TIE fighters attack. We get through there. It's a nice little quick battle sequence. I get to love seeing Ahsoka and Ezra holding the ship up, and I love seeing Sabine fight through it and destroy the TIEs with the ship. You don't get that very often.
So sick. I feel like it's because like the ship was so damaged, she was just like, "Fuck it."
So Yang's great dismay. I felt bad for Yang. That's where they kind of crashed down, and you see Sabine kind of walking away badass. You look back and see Yang being like,
it's just got that look at his face of just like,
I just fucking fixed this thing.
You're going to New York Comic Con, right?
I am not going to be able to make it to the Comic Con.
Oh, okay. Because I know David Tennant's meant to be one of the guests. So I was like, are you going to...
know. My son actually is making an appearance on the Sunday. I don't know if he's going to be there the same day. Hopefully he will be. I just don't know if
you'd like get him to sign something as the Doctor or get him to sign something as Hu Yang.
I would probably have him to sign something as Dr. Hu Yang. At this point. That'd be a good question to ask. I mean, I gotta say, I have to be honest here. I'd probably go with the Doctor only because he's only been Hu Yang for a little bit. He was the Doctor, my favorite Doctor for a while, and I think coming back as Doctor, which by the way, coming back as the Doctor in November, I can't wait for that. And the rumors flying about that aren't even. I know this isn't wholly Doctor Who, but wow, we have a conversation about that at some point. I'm sure PJ and I is going to have a special at some point on this channel about it because we can't wait.
Who would be the patron saint of that podcast? Would it be, what's his name? Who's John Barrowman's character? Jack?
Captain Jack. Probably not only because some issues with Jack, but I think I would probably have be Strax, who is the he was the potato looking guy. He talks like,
oh yeah. Yeah. I know who that is. My knowledge of Doctor Who is very limited. So
I get that. Yeah. That's why I knew you were limited, so I tried to. How do I describe him? Because I can say he's a Sontaran, but you would know what that means. And
if you tell me the potato guy, I'm like, okay, yeah, I know who that is.
I mean, he's a kind of our Hondo. I think that would be the case. I don't want to speak for PJ, but I have strong feelings that PJ would approve. All right, we get to the point where now they survive. They start moving on the wolves towards the ship, and of course Thrawn starts trying to rain hellfire down. Doesn't work. They all decide to get in, and at this point, they have the great moment after they start storming the fortress. They all get ready to go, and what happens? We are going to send the troopers, which we kind of had to wonder who they were. Like we kind of saw these troopers. There was speculation: were they Knight brothers? Were they just survivors of Thrawn's at this point? Their armor was obviously defeated. Their armor was cracked a little bit. Their armors were very lived in. We're going to send them after the three. And they get sent after. And in a great moment, I think Ahsoka tells Sabine to not use your lightsaber, get your blasters out, because there's just so many of them. It's a great moment. You don't have to have a lightsaber. You don't have to use your strength. But if it's a blaster of Mandalorian, use your strength.
And it goes back to Ahsoka saying, there's more to being a Jedi than just wielding a lightsaber.
Right, exactly.
You can wield blasters. It'd be as equally as effective.
Right, absolutely. But they get through the crew pretty quickly. They're beat down pretty well. And then we get to learn what the magic is that Thrawn wants, or at least part of the magic is that wants the Night Sisters. And we get our first case of zombie troopers, basically.
Yes.
Night Sister magic, bringing the stormtroopers back to life and making them zombies, making them almost
Death Troopers,
undefeatables, basically Death Troopers. Which I'm
the original Death Troopers.
The original Death Troopers. You read that novel, correct?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I told it for a long time. I've been doing a Legends run through ever since Legend ended. I've been doing. I'm getting close to Death Troopers. Death Troopers is one of my favorite novels in the Star Wars canon, or Star Wars history, I should say. Legends. These troopers are phenomenal. It's perfect time for spooky season. It works well. It's a scary tactic. It's a scary moment. It felt just like The Walking Dead in Star Wars. I'm very happy it went down the way it went down.
The shot where just like the one trooper's helmet comes up close to the camera, then you just see the green eye. I was like,
oh,
that's cool.
And I love that they walk like zombies. They start are kind of going back and forth. And the best part, of course,
I see a lot of people hating on that. I'm like, what did you expect for them to get up and start doing the fucking Thriller dance? Like they're obviously they're gonna walk like zombies because that's what they are. And a lot of people are like,
Zombies.
oh my god, they even sounded like zombies. Yeah, that's what they are.
Because they're
Like,
zombies.
oh, I am so sorry that the show about space wizards and space witches also has zombies in, and it just makes me think, it's like, what do you watch this show for?
Right.
Like,
Right.
really, what do you really watch Star Wars for? If you're like, if something as unrealistic in a show about space wizards and space witches, something so unrealistic as zombies troopers is gonna throw you off. Like, give me a break. Like,
Yeah.
it's such a thing that's like, it was awesome. I loved it.
I did too. Some great fight sequences there. Ezra.
I was
Sabine.
even like shouting it. It was like, aim for the head. You need to aim for the head.
I know, like, Ahsoka, if you ever watched The Walking Dead, come on now, slice the head off. God. That's actually kind of interesting, like it's like an intriguing point, not to dwell on, but are there zombie stories in Star Wars? I don't even know. Like, we're so used to, maybe they don't have a zombie story. Well, they are now. Maybe that's why they didn't go for the head, though. Maybe they never read or saw a zombie movie in Star Wars.
There is in Fallen Order where Merrin resurrects the dead Night Sisters.
Okay.
So it has happened before, technically, and we're
I
probably
mean,
about to see that
pop culture wise, it's in our pop culture lexicon to slice off the head. Maybe there's no pop culture lexicon of zombies.
Zombieland Double Tap.
In Star Wars, though, there's no Zombieland Double Tap in Star Wars. I'm saying Ahsoka never got to sit down and watch Woody Harrelson in Zombieland.
God damn, I want to see that. It's a Zombieland version of the Zombieland in Star Wars, featuring Woody Harrelson.
Well, he's already been in Star Wars, so you have him as
exactly. Beckett runs into a bunch of zombies. Beckett goes to Dathomir.
Looking for a space Twinkie.
Yes.
I don't know what the equivalent would be for the space Twinkie, but I'm all here for it. This is what we're talking about, folks. We're talking about space Twinkies on Ahsoka series season finale breakdown. All right, so it would have to be blue, absolutely. Blue, maybe some kind of different colored cream inside or something. I don't know. So they get through the zombies. They locked them out or whatever. At this point, at least stall them enough and keep moving. Now this is where Thrawn basically says, "Okay, well, they're moving a little faster than we thought. Morgan, you're the next man up." And Morgan's been told to sacrifice herself with the other Death Troopers, the real Death Troopers at this point. And Morgan does. To her credit, she steps up. She's like, "Okay, I'll go do it. You'll take care of it." It's all her honor to serve the Empire, as it were.
There was a really interesting point at this point. I kind of want to allude to it. We'll talk more about it later, but there was the way that he said for the Empire. She just kind of like stared at him and went, for Dathomir. I was like, wait a second. Hold up. Wait a minute.
I do wonder. We'll talk about that going forward.
Yeah. I just thought that was a really cool little moment where she was just like, "No, I ain't doing this for you. Like, don't kid yourself. I'm not doing it. I've got my sword now. I'm gonna go get my revenge on this Jedi."
And so this leads to Ahsoka versus Morgan, and we've seen obviously Ahsoka versus Morgan before. We saw them fight in the Jedi in the Mandalorian season, and that was a much more slower samurai kind of feel each other out. This was the superpowered Morgan, much more intense, full-on battle, the sword versus the lightsaber. I really love it. Let's let Sabine and of course Ezra deal with the actual big Death Troopers. Which really got intense. That you saw like how they were
so cool.
Oh, I love those guys so much. I want to see more of them, to be honest with you.
What are they called? Would they be called the Night Death Troopers? The Death Night Troopers?
Night Troopers, Death Knights, maybe the Death Knights. I don't know.
Yeah, the Death Knights of Ren. Oh God, don't start that. Let's not that there.
So it leads to a big moment here. The trooper. Death Troopers kicks the lightsaber out of her hand and starts choking Sabine out. And this is where Sabine finally tries to use the Force and is successful. She actually calls the lightsaber to her hand, and the lightsaber kills the trooper, slicing him through the head, and there we are.
Does the Ben Solo, the catch it through the head?
Yes. Now, I think we all kind of, this is where we are leading to, and this is definitely going to be I'd say, controversial part of the episode for sure. Because, quite frankly, there was the idea, well, Sabine was the least talented Jedi candidate that Huyang had ever seen, that kind of thing. She never moved anything before. What is the result of her actually finally using the Force in a moment of real need? And I liked it. I did like it. I was of the camp for a long time that I think it would have been maybe a cooler idea to see her never really be that strong on the Force in terms of things, and maybe be able to help out in some ways, and use the Force in different ways without becoming the telekinesis person, so to speak. Like, it was like, that'd be kind of an interesting thing to watch, to see somebody in a different fashion, because we see Jedi do this all the time, right? So seeing something on a different tactic on thing might have been a cool idea, but we didn't go there, which is fine. It was kind of a big moment. I think it might have turned some people off. Not that that matters. Dave has his story in mind, and that's what he wants to do. What were your thoughts when you saw that initially? Like, Sabine has it happen, she fights it off, and she wins the day that way.
Okay, I have many thoughts about this. Many thoughts. Let's start with the Huyang point of him saying you are the. As you know, we'll start with the comparison I have to Rey. This seems like we're very much trading back into it would have been cool if she was Rey from nowhere, or if she was Rey Kenobi. But she ain't. She's Rey Skywalker.
Right.
Rey Palpatine, Rey Skywalker, whatever you want to say about. She's someone. She's not Rey from nowhere. Unfortunately, Sabine is not the weak, powerless in the Force that it would have been cool. Yeah, absolutely would have been cool.
Right.
But as the creator, as the maker has said, and this is kind of where like I draw the line of like George said it, end of discussion, the Force flows through all living beings. All living beings. Now we'll move on to the Huyang point of it. I see that quote a little differently now.
Okay.
From how we've seen the character of Huyang develop throughout this show, I wouldn't be surprised if that was listen, I've had coaches tell me that I ain't shit to make me up my game. I wouldn't be surprised if that was Huyang just busting her chops, being like, yeah, you're the weakest ever that I have ever seen. You are pathetic.
Huyang sports coach. I like that idea. That makes sense in a way. I get that. That's a fun comparison there.
Yeah. So I feel like, sorry, I just had my Alexa thing go off, so I had to mute for a second there. So thank you for covering me for that.
Got it. Yeah.
I feel like it was Huyang just being like, yeah, you're the weakest. Like, you're pathetic. There's no point training you. You can do it for the fun of it, but I don't know what's going to come of it because of how powerless you are. And I kind of now see it as that, of like him being the wisecracking coach, because he's busting on Ahsoka all the time. He's busting her chops all the time.
Right.
So now I'm thinking like, was that his way of like trying to like get through to her in a different way, a way that would like really like poking at? She's a Mandalorian. She's a warrior. She's full of pride. What better way to like get it out of her than just to dig the knife in and really stick it? Be like, look, I don't want to tell you, you're kind of pathetic at this. You're terrible at this. For Sabine to be like, no, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. And as for the moment, I probably would have preferred it to come as just the toss me moment, because that's a Rebels callback. That's something that we've seen 1,000 times in Rebels.
Right.
Of like Kanan throwing Ezra. Now it's Sabine throwing Ezra.
Right.
I thought that would have been a cool moment, and maybe Sabine just relying on her abilities as a Mandalorian and as a warrior to get herself out of that situation and help Ezra. But at the same time, we weren't pissed about it when it was Luke in the Wampa cage in the Wampa Cave, like calling the lightsaber to him when he was essentially half dead.
Right.
So, and one other, this is my final point, and then we move on. With what we see later on in the show, how do we know that the planet that they're on didn't amplify her abilities?
That's a good point. I actually honestly didn't even think about that, but that's actually a strong point. I will say what you're talking about. Obviously, we had the moment where she slices the guy, and then Ezra and her run towards the ship, and they do the rebels throw where try to get onto the fleeing Star Destroyer, and Ezra does run, and Sabine pushes her. I think I gotta say I instinctively wasn't a fan with how it was presented. It's something that's it's not gonna end me. I'm not gonna like stop watching or get mad about it. Because I did prefer like the weaker Sabine, the idea that we gotta have to see her. I want to see her succeed as a Jedi without ever really getting to that powerful level. I just feel like a lot of it was just too much for me because like you have she force grabs the lightsaber and then she pushes Ezra. It all kind of happens all at once really quickly. I would have preferred my own way. I think I would have preferred, honestly, this is how I prefer to go down. What would have been fun for me? Let's say she's getting choked. She's getting choked. She reaches for the saber. The saber pops up. You think it's her, and it was really Ezra giving her the saber, like for pushing the saber to her.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh shit!" But then she does show the Force. I wouldn't mind if she shows the Force when Ezra decides, "I have to get to this. I have to get to the throne." And he runs and does a Force jump, and he starts falling. And then Sabine, like last ditch effort, that's when she uses it, and it's like the moment where like her life or death, she had to do it to save someone else, not even herself. She has to save her family member, and that's what finally unlocks the trigger in her to be able to use the Force, and she does it, and that's what's successful. I kind of feel like that would have been for me a better way to have unwrapped it and made it a little more palatable for myself.
Okay.
Even if you know what I'm saying.
Counter theory.
Okay.
We say it happened all at once, and I know you're not. I know fully well you are not saying that. Oh, Sabine's a Mary Sue. I know you're not doing
not
that.
At all. Yeah, not at all.
I've seen a lot of people doing that. I know you're not one of them.
Yeah.
She was training with Ahsoka for 10 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Have you ever like just tried something and tried something and tried something and it just hasn't worked? So you've been like, screw it, I'm gonna step back from it. I'm not even gonna think about it. And then you come back to it with a new perspective, a new set of eyes, and it works.
Oh, I actually agree with you 110%. What I want to angle is that the idea that she did it twice in rapid succession like that, I think almost cheapened it in a way for me. Like I kind of feel like it happened like it finally. Oh, that's what I mean about like her seeing Ezra in danger. That was finally the trigger. Like boom, and she does it, and then you get to sit on that. Like that was the one time she really used it, and then we get to see what that means going forward. Having her do it twice in the space of like 5 minutes kind of cheapened it just a little bit for me. Not necessarily a bad way. It's a storyteller choice I would have made a little bit differently. Again, that's why I'm sitting at home and Dave Filoni's where he is, I guess. But it's a criticism I have, but it's again we're allowed to criticize without being.
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna.
I agree that I feel like the toss me moment would have been the one that I would have picked.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But also seeing.
Like, I mean, real quick, just like I love the idea of Ezra throwing that's that tease, and you're like, oh, she did it. Oh, she didn't. She's still fun. And then she does it. And you're like, nice. In a way.
But also, it's like we've now got we've got a Mandalorian Jedi. Like to me, just the idea of like just saying that we have a Mandalorian Jedi. Cool. I'm in. Sweet. I'm in.
So, I'm interested to see how it goes forward. This actually. Quite honestly, let's see what happens in season 2 and moving forward, because quite frankly, a lot of times where things go can retroactively make something feel more right. And with time, you sit and it feels better about it. So maybe that's where we'll go. Who knows?
I feel like I'm onto something with my planet theory, though. I got a sneaking suspicion because that planet, the other planet amplified the other abilities.
Yeah.
So.
Wouldn't be surprised at all. Absolutely. So we'll get there. Okay, so Sabine has a chance now. Ezra does make the leap, does have a traditional Rebels moment. He almost doesn't make it, but then he jumps up Obi-Wan style and is able to save the day, and Sabine shoots him off. It's up to now Sabine to supposedly try and move over, and Ezra's going to help her. Sabine turns, faces Ahsoka, sees Ahsoka facing down the troopers who have now gotten through the barriers and Morgan, and it's kind of it's a tough call for Sabine to make, but she finally chooses to listen to Hu Yang and stay together. And it's a great moment. Morgan says Ahsoka's about to die alone, and Sabine pulls the old, Lord of the Rings moment, not alone. She joins the fray, unfortunately leaving Ezra alone on the Star Destroyer, which in a way kind of makes you feel a little weird because, like, here it is. The whole concept is Ahsoka and Sabine going to get Ezra back from their planet. Now Ezra left with Thrawn to go to this galaxy. Now we're basically just switching. Ezra and Thrawn are going to the other galaxy back, leaving Sabine and Ahsoka behind. But
there was also that Thrawn quote when he was speaking to Ahsoka. He said, "I feel like
I'm getting there.
This is a vagabond, where a vagabond like you belongs."
Yes, that's what I'm going to get to, because obviously after Sabine and Ahsoka have a great battle with the troopers, and Ahsoka does eventually kill Morgan with a great thrust, of the saber there at the end. Actually gets the sword and the saber together. Cool ending for Morgan. Sad ending for Morgan. I kind of wish Morgan had lived. I kind of was fine. I was growing fond of that as a villain. I thought she could have been a cool villain moving forward.
I mean, who knows?
That's true. At this point, we don't know anybody.
No. No one ever really dies, right?
True. So Sabine and Ahsoka jump onto Hu Yang. Let's fix the ship again, because Hu Yang is the man. While the Star Destroyer rains hellfire down on the Night Sister base there. They start flying after the Star Destroyer, and Ahsoka can't catch up, and Thrawn does get away after a conversation between Thrawn and Ahsoka, where Thrawn gets to be the mustache-twirling villain in a way, the cocky son of a bitch of, well, it was nice to be here, but I'm going to leave you behind now, and you're going to... it's a great conversation they have, and then, boom, leaves them behind, and Ahsoka and Sabine are left stranded on Peridea again. So then we move forward from there. They return to the planet, and we see the Naughty there. You go back to the Naughty settlements. And then we have an interesting idea. It was at this point you realize that here we are, almost done with the episode. We have not seen Baylan or Shin all episode. And I was so sad about that.
I was looking. As it was getting close to the episode, I was like, we haven't seen them yet. And then I would like pause for a brief second and be like, oh shit, we're running out of time. Like,
right.
Are they gone?
I know part of it is obviously we knew this is Ray Stevenson's last episode, obviously the untimely passing, and it's a sad thing because he made such an impact in a short amount of time in the Star Wars universe. And then even more so as a person, what a wonderful person he was, through things of that nature. But I was like, kind of like, oh, so we're not actually going to get much from Baylan and Shin. And that was a little upsetting. It wouldn't have been as upsetting if he hadn't passed, knowing we were going to get more from him in the future, because obviously it's set up to do more in the future. But we'll get to them now, actually, because Ahsoka and Sabine return.
Hey, what we got? What we did get?
It is a great setup. Absolutely. So we turn. Ahsoka sees Marai, the owl, of course, or at least leg being there, which is something that we were excited about, something that we expected before this, but makes sense that it comes in now, especially with what we're about to get to. The next thing we see, though, is Shin. And I will say this is part of the episode I wasn't a big a fan of. Shin going back to the Nomads. Last we saw her, Shin was retreating, and we thought that Shin was returning back to the Empire, and she never did, obviously. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what happened. I guess she took Baylan's suggestions to heart, and that the Empire wasn't as big of a deal as she thought it was. And so she really seems to be someone who doesn't know what she wants. So she goes back to the Nomads. Again, this is one of those situations where I got to see where the story leads going forward. But presented like it does, it's kind of like a real afterthought. Like, oh, so she's going here? Why? Because you just had to show where she was. Like, it was kind of like I don't know what we're doing with her, so we're just throw her up and go from there.
I feel like it's kind of she got left behind by that Empire, so now she's almost going to go start a little one of her own. She got embarrassed by Ahsoka. She got embarrassed by Ahsoka. So she's like, I'm gonna go get some people that I can whip around, some people that can be underneath me,
right?
And I'm gonna come back for round 2.
Absolutely. And again, that's a small nitpick, but I mean, it just seemed like it was kind of an afterthought kind of thing. Whereas our catching up with Balin was definitively not an afterthought. It was definitely something. This is the thing coming moving forward, and while
Just
we were
one
definitely
little thing.
saying,
I don't know if you're saving it, but who we saw at the end of the scene with Ahsoka, who appeared.
we haven't gotten there yet. That's the final moment.
Oh yes, you're right. Yeah, it is. Okay, yeah.
So we're getting there.
Okay. Yeah.
So we have Balin. We see Balin, and obviously at the end of Balin's journey here, we are realizing that he's going to have to be recast. I can't see this going forward without Balin. Like, I mean, I guess you could just say we never see him again, but that'd be kind of a cheap way out. And I feel like it's a bad way to do it unless you do it. So unless I decide to finish it off in a book or a comic or something, which I just don't think is going to happen, we're going to have to have a recast, and that's going to be a difficult person. That's going to be difficult for the person to step in because Ray Stevenson was so wonderful. But we get to see him finally ending his journey. It's a very Lord of the Rings like sequence, the great statues and with the great like sparkly thing in the distance on top of a mountain. But then we get the reveal. They kind of pull back. We get the wide shot, and sure enough, it is the Mortis gods. We see the father. He's standing on the arm of the father. We see the son next to him, and on the other side, we see the crumbled head of the daughter, because the daughter is no more. So it's definitely that's what they're trying to say, I believe. Either way, we are on a planet that is heavily involved with Mortis. We are obviously going to return to Mortis in some way, shape, or form, some fashion. Maybe this is where the Mortis, maybe this galaxy is where the Mortis actually is, or Mortis gods are. And that's what Balin is hearing, and the power Balin is talking about. He wants to go to Mortis.
Where Mephisto is, I mean Abeloth.
Where Abeloth possibly is as the mother, maybe Abeloth is the mother in this galaxy or in this world.
I got my theories.
Not
even theories. It's kind of like
right.
We'll get
right. Okay. Interestingly enough, I remember I wish I could give credit to somebody. I don't know who I can give credit to because I remember seeing this. I watched a bunch of videos afterwards. The crumbling head of the daughter, where the daughter should be. It looks like if you look at the dress, the way it looks, it almost looks like the young Ahsoka outfit. Yeah. Which makes sense because obviously the daughter lives in Ahsoka now, as we know from the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So we're going to come back to that in one of our next segments. We're going to go a little bit more deeper dive into it, but let's move on now to the end. Absolutely. We get Thrawn arriving at Dathomir. So we're getting a live action Dathomir. That makes me excited. That excites me to no end. And we get to see him basically ruling the planet. He's going to be in charge here. We do get at this point, Ezra has snuck off the base or the ship in the Jedi starfighter that Balin and Shin had used, and flies to the Republic. And I'm not sure how he got there, how he knew where they were. Who knows? But he figured it out. And okay, I'm all for a dramatic entrance, but Ezra, you're gonna walk onto a Republic ship, guns all out of you, in your stormtrooper helmet, in your full stormtrooper gear. Like you had to put it on. I get how he puts it on. I mean, I forgot that actually. We did get that great Rebels moment where he gets a dead stormtrooper, actually acts like a stormtrooper and pulls him away. Very classic Ezra scene. So I get him getting dressed in the stormtrooper outfit to get off the ship, but you have a lot of time between the time you get from the Star Destroyer to this Republic ship. Take the fucking outfit off this.
I know exactly what it was. It's a key Rebels moment that a lot of people are forgetting about. He loves to collect helmets. He doesn't have a Night Trooper helmet.
He can keep the helmet, but not wear it out of the ship when you're going to the.
Oh, so what? He'd wear his normal clothes with a stormtrooper helmet.
Yeah, You can collect it without wearing it. You can put it on the side.
You gotta wear it. Plus, we got a cool moment with Chopper. Okay, we wouldn't have got the moment. We wouldn't have had we didn't get enough. Okay, this is my big critique of this series. Not enough Chopper. Chopper didn't kill anyone. Who did Chopper kill? If anyone was underutilized in this show, it was Chopper because he didn't kill anyone.
All right, I agree there, but at the same time, it felt a little weird. I know it was the dramatic reveal. I get what they're going for, so I can forgive it. It's kind of fun. We do get the Hera and Ezra reunion though, and Chopper reunion part. It's a cool moment. It's just a funny thing when I'm watching them. Even when I'm watching, kind of like, really, you're just gonna walk down, and you're gonna stay there and wait for it, like. take off down. But okay.
That's the thing that like I've gotten pretty good at understanding Chopper, like speaking Choppese. Like that was kind of what I heard him saying. It was just like, really? Like you're gonna wear a stormtrooper outfit? Really?
Okay, then we return back to Peridia, and we get a good conversation between Ahsoka and Sabine, and they have this moment of clarity about what's going on. Sabine a little down herself for letting Thrawn go and failing. Ahsoka basically not caring, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Not she doesn't care about it, but she's kind of like she's giving herself to the Force. That's like one of the lessons she learned from Anakin again. She's like, you know what? I think we're supposed to be. Everything will work out for a reason. I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. You got Ezra back to the galaxy. You succeeded. We're probably where we're supposed to be, and something's going to happen where if we need to get back there, we'll get back there. It's really about Ahsoka trusting in the Force again, which is great to see. And then, of course, we get the great moment, which I loved, and it's kind of like actually like Luke at the end of Mandalorian in a way, like in season 2. Like we're kind of like they're going to do it, right? They got to do it, right? They're going to do it, right? Because Sabine senses something in the Force, but can't quite see it. And that makes sense.
Shadows in the starlight.
Shadows in the starlight. We're going to see Ahsoka looking in the distance, get a little bit of smile on her face, and then we pan back, and sure enough, it's the Force ghost of Anakin Skywalker looking over her and smiling, as in he's proud of what she's done. He's proud of that she's gotten where she's gotten.
He smiles for a moment, but then it changes to kind of like oh boy, where are we doing this?
What's going on now? Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a moment of Anakin's at least looking out for her, though. He's looking over, he's watching over her, he's proud of her, and it's gonna be interesting to see what happens moving forward. So next up on our list is Master.
As your master, it's my responsibility to prepare you.
This is where we discuss the Master of the Week, our favorite character of the week. Maddie, what was your favorite character of the week?
Just Thrawn.
Thrawn. Okay, interesting.
And here's why everyone's saying that like Thrawn wasn't as intimidating and like they didn't get a lot from him. Thrawn, when you back him into a corner, that's when he becomes really dangerous. And there was moments, and when we get to our next category, that it's going to come up again, of when you see Thrawn get rattled, when you see Thrawn get shaken, and you see him start to get a bit pissy, a bit emotional, because he's been beaten by a Jedi before, and it's almost kind of like he's almost like, oh fucking hell, not again. Like I've done all this, prepared all this preparation, aligned with these witches, and these Jedi just still won't go away. So like seeing him get rattled, but then kind of recompose himself like he does, like he'll get angry and then he'll just be like, then almost kind of like he's using the Force to center himself.
Right.
And yeah, I love seeing that side of Thrawn, the Thrawn that like starts getting emotional and starts getting a little bit reckless. I'm like, what's he gonna do? What's he gonna do?
Fair. I thought about Thrawn. A bunch of people I thought about this episode actually had a lot of different choices. I considered Morgan for a moment because I thought Morgan had a great episode. But I think at the end of the day, as much as it is for the last couple of episodes, but I wanted to point out specifically, despite the the stormtrooper gaffe, as you will, I'm going to give it to Ezra, because quite frankly, Iman has been like so amazing in this role. He really feels like I mean, all the characters come to life have been good. Like Rosario Dawson's done really great as Ahsoka, and Mary as Hera, and Natasha as Sabine. They've all been wonderful. But Ezra really literally feels like he stepped out of Rebels into live action. He embodies the characters so well. The hopefulness of him when he sees Hera at the end, the battle weary but still gonna fight with all his vim and fervor against the zombie troopers. Everything about Ezra just felt real, and I can't wait to get more. I would love to see an Ezra series at this point. If he's not going to head up a Rebels series, I mean, then I just want to see more of the character. I hope he appears in a lot of different places because he has a lot more left to give at this point. You know, Jedi be damned, considering where the Luke's temple goes and all that kind of stuff. The sequel trilogy, all stuff, yada yada yada. Give me more Ezra stories because he was my favorite part of the episode, and there's a lot of fun to it. So I'm gonna go with Ezra. So,
If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck,
it's
in line as funny as Ezra Bridger. He was perfect. Looked like him, sounded like him,
felt like him.
Right. It was essentially, you don't always want a 1-for-1 of the character, but in this case, it was just like, whoa,
wow,
okay,
right.
This is the guy.
Yep, it seemed like a natural progression. I love it. I'm here for it. So, all right. Next up, we got "I'm no Jedi."
I am no Jedi.
That is our favorite line of the week. Favorite line of dialogue. That's one of Ahsoka's most famous lines. We had some good dialogue this week, and I usually end up picking a comic line. I tend to love the comic line, but this week I picked a serious line. I'm going to go first on this one. This week it was a Thrawn line. A Thrawn line.
Don't you dare.
One wonders just how similar you might become.
Okay. So I thought you were going to go with a different one.
Yeah, I loved when Thrawn had that conversation with Ahsoka. He teases knowing who Anakin was. He teases a lot about it. And the best part about it, even though Ahsoka has made such great strides and she really seemingly has defeated her crisis of faith, so to speak, it's still kind of those mind games that Thrawn loves playing. Thrawn knows what happened to Anakin, knows that Anakin became Darth Vader, knows that Ahsoka is impetuous, is impulsive, runs on emotions, does everything like her master did before. What happens if Ahsoka falls and follows down Anakin's path becomes something that she would hate to be. And the fact that Thrawn uses it in such a fashion as he's leaving her follows up with the Ronin line at this point. I think it's a great moment. It's a great moment of the episode. It's a great Thrawn moment. It's perfect except for Thrawn. And it sets up Thrawn and Ahsoka as a great battle between Thrawn and Ahsoka potentially down the line. Even just a mental battle, so to speak. I think this perfectly encapsulated the character in the moment and the series. So I love that one. How about you, my friend? What's your Thrawn line? I know you're taking a Thrawn line.
Mine is I was so nervous when you said it's a Thrawn line. I was like, and not a comic line. Obviously, Thrawn, he has his quips, but he doesn't really have comic lines. I was like, God, please don't let it rain hellfire down upon them. There will be no negotiating with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. I got chills. I got goosebumps. I said, like, it's very rare that like a line will get me like that. But when he said that, and the fact that he was starting to get rattled when he said it, and he almost said it like through gritted teeth. And you could see the fear in his eyes. I was just like, and then the shot of the Chimera, like from underneath, is like all the turbo lasers started coming down. I was like,
here we go.
Shit, that's awesome.
It's showtime, as it were. Oh yeah,
rain. You could like break it up into two sections. There's Thrawn saying "rain hellfire down upon them," scary as hell is enough, and then saying there will be no negotiating with the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. Like he knows he's fucked if she gets to him.
Right. Absolutely. It's another way. No, it's another great line. It's a great encapsulation of Thrawn.
Oh, I got chills. I got goosebumps.
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you at all. Sweet. All right. Next up, we have always a bit of
There's always a bit of truth in legends.
Always a bit of truth in legends, I should say. This is where we explore more lore, look into things, and we look for to try to go a little bit deeper, whether it be another episode, whether it be a book, a comic, something like that. And I think the easy one would be the Balin bit, but I'm going to talk about that a little more at the end anyway. So I chose something different this week, and I think you might be surprised at what I chose, considering what I said during our breakdown section. I want to explore more about Shin. Because it did appear to be an afterthought during this episode and maybe not important. It was kind of more of a check-in. It makes me really wonder where we are with her, especially going forward, because we kind of know where all the pieces are. Thrawn here, Ezra with Hera and the fleet and all that kind of stuff. We have Balin with the Mortis gods at this point. Ahsoka and Sabine are obviously going to be set up to challenge whatever Balin is doing. That kind of feels like that's the no-brainer. Where does Shin fit in now? She's not with Balin anymore, and I feel like she's not going that direction. I don't think she wants to be with Ahsoka or Sabine. Is she powerful enough to do anything? Are they going to make a difference? And if so, what difference do they make? Who are these nomads? Are they force sensitive somehow, potentially, because of where we are now that we know where we are? What's going on there? Are there any remaining Night Sister and Night Brother cargo left? Is there anything like it's still here remains from them? I want to know where Shin goes, and I want to know more about Shin in general. Give me a backstory on Shin. I want to know her entire life. Shin has the potential to be as loved a character or as explored a character as Asajj Ventress was. It's kind of a similar kind of trajectory to a degree. A young girl who kind of got seduced by the dark side with a master she was abandoned, perhaps. We don't know that for sure, but did have a dark side ish, a master teacher the ways of the Force and the dark side, then get abandoned again, and she has to kind of find her place. I love that angle. I love that concept of her. So I'm really excited to see where we go with Shin. Even if it's not in Ahsoka season 2, if it's something different, completely different, maybe we get her a comic book about Shin. We get a book about Shin. Maybe we get a different series. Maybe she shows up in a different.
Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah, Tales of the Jedi. A lot of cool things we can go with that route. What are your thoughts on Shin, and then always your bit of legends?
Shin Hati. Shin Hati.
Shin Hati.
Yeah, I feel like she's kind of set up to be. Balin's obviously probably going to be the big bad,
right?
In the next season, he's going to be the big boss.
Right.
I feel like Shin's going to be the one to get to Balin. I feel like she's kind of going to be like a lost puppy, and she's going to be like, I need to go find my master because this plan hasn't worked. I need to go find him and get my revenge because I know I can't beat her on my own. So I need as much help as I can get. And I've seen him deal with her before. So let me go find him again. I feel like she has the potential to have her own like standout moments, and I'm sure they will come. But I think in terms of like this show and the progression that we're going to take into the next season, I feel like she's kind of being set up to be the hunter, as it will. She's the wolf chasing, which I'm going to get to again. I'm going to trust me. Oh, I'm going to get to that. I feel like she's going to be the wolf, one of the wolves chasing. She's going to be chasing Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think you might be right, and I do think I honestly wouldn't be surprised if she's not just chasing Ahsoka. I think she might be heavily involved in foiling potentially Balin's plans, where she has to face up against her former master in a gray. Either way, I do like what she's going with, and I have that idea. We have a good, exciting potential coming there. All right, what about you? What's your explore more lore moment?
The way Thrawn said, I have a feeling this place is somewhere Roman like you belongs. Almost like he knows something.
Okay.
It's just kind of like the way he said, I have a feeling this is a place that a Ronin like you belongs. It's like, what do you know? What? Because it's been 10 years at this point.
Right.
And he's someone who learns very quickly, and someone who is yes, he uses art he is essentially Hitler in that he learns about other people's cultures and then uses them to destroy the very culture of the art that he collects.
Right.
He's very much into art and culture and the history of places.
Right.
I wonder what he learned about Peridia from the Great Mothers.
Huh. Yeah, you know what? I that feels definitely like a book worth exploring, the planet of Peridia and what's going on there. I mean, you know what? I do think we will not see visually. I gotta feel like this, unless it's way down the line. We'll never visually get a chance to see much of what happened between Thrawn and Ezra on the planet in Peridia. So we got a there's a lot of time there to fill it out. It's like a perfect place for a Timothy Zahn novel to explore. That's that. I like the idea. I think Timothy Zahn should be called up immediately and go, Timothy, fill this gap in for us and do it well. Well,
because it's kind of like for him to say, I hope that you're going to go down the same path as Anakin did. He must have some understanding of the concept of the light and the dark side, and Anakin falling to the dark side. He must have some knowledge of that concept for him to say, I wonder if you're going to go down the same way. And this is a place where someone like you belongs.
Yeah.
He must know something.
Right. Yeah, no. I know we'll figure out what that is, I guess, huh? I like that idea. Cool. All right. Well, then next up from that, we have seen a lot of action.
Hear a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
All right. What was your favorite action bit, my action friend?
I think it was the scene with the zombie troopers.
Okay.
It was very much, I don't know, it felt like old school horror zombie movie to me. And like, I just thought it was something fresh, something that we've never seen in Star Wars. And it's fun. Like them having to cut the doors. But then you see that even though they're zombies, the stormtroopers still find a way to cut through the doors. And then like they still keep coming through.
Yeah.
They're still coming through. I thought that was a really cool moment. And then you see, like I mentioned before, the shot where the one trooper's helmet comes up. And you see the green fire in his eye. I was like, oh man, that throughout that whole sequence, I was captivated. I was sitting there watching, like, come on, give me more. Like, get it back up. Come on, get up again. And they did. Like, even when they were cut down again, they would get back up. I was just like, oh my god, they could be screwed at this point. Is this the point where, because the week before we've been talking about maybe one of them doesn't make it out? It's like,
right.
Is this how one of them goes out?
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. That you actually probably took mine. I'm going to get more specific on one of the things. I will say my runner-up is probably the death of Morgan, the double, the lightsaber and the sword slash across the middle. It was kind of a cool thing. My favorite action-y moment was right before Sabine uses the saber, or uses the force to get the saber. The Death Knight guy has her up in a chokehold, and you see like his jaw and like the zombie like aspect of his, like his dead face underneath, and that just like I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. That was my favorite bit of action because he's got her up in the hill, even though he dies a couple seconds later. It's just a great moment of like, this is who we're facing, this is who you're facing, and you could be fucked now if you don't save yourself.
And it was the fact that like they kicked the saber out of Ezra's hand, and like the other one had hold of Ezra. I was like, oh shit! Like we talk about how Andor made stormtroopers feel dangerous again.
Mm-hmm.
I got the same out of this. It was like, oh, okay, like these stormtroopers probably aren't gonna miss.
Right. Good stuff. All right, next up we have Laugh It Up, Fuzzball.
Laugh it up, Fuzzball.
Comedic moments of the week. There weren't a whole lot of comedic moments this week. I'm not going to lie, but there were a few to nitpick to cherry pick from. I'll give you the first choice, though, Matt. What was your favorite comedic moment of the week?
Mine was just the shot of Hu Yang just standing there looking defeated, like I just put this back together. Like I just fixed this ship. And then you get Lil Nutty in there helping him, which I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah,
like,
I'm sure he knows exactly what he's doing.
I was like, how do you know how to fix a Jedi shuttle? Like, who are these little guys?
Must have learned a lot from Ezra in the past couple of years.
Must have done. Ezra's good with machines, so
absolutely. Fair enough. Mine is actually involving the Nutty as well. It's kind of a weird one. I don't know why I chuckled at it, but I did. After Ahsoka and Sabine fail in their mind, Thrawn gets away. They return to the planet, and the Nutty start cheering them when they return. And all I can think of is like, they have no idea what's going on. Like little babe lost the word, like, yeah. And I was like, it was a heartwarming way to do it because it kind of let you go, okay, we're still okay. It was a nice way to salve the wounds of them letting Thrawn get away. Just made me chuckle a little bit. And sometimes that's all you need. You don't need a big guffaw. You just need a little like heartwarming moment. So that's what I liked. So
it's like the Ewoks at the Return of the Jedi.
Exactly. It's that exact kind of thing. So, all right, let's move to our next segment,
It's the
Parsecs.
ship that made the Kessel run in less than 12 parsecs.
Less than 12 parsecs, that's 11, because we always rank things between 1 and 11 here on PLD Projects. Out of 11, what do you give this episode?
I'm going to 10 and a half, because as cool as it was seeing a live action Dathomir, I didn't need Thrawn to do anything other than just appear in front of either Coruscant or Lothal. I get why we're going to Dathomir. This is me we're talking about here. I'm all in favor of going back to Dathomir. Just that little thing of like, if he had appeared in front of Coruscant or Lothal, that would have been like no. no. And then if they'd done that and then ended on that, like he hadn't even appeared there, I would have been left thinking like, what did he do? What's going to happen?
Right. I get that. For me,
but everything else.
For me, like I said before, I did have a few nitpicks more than I wanted to, and I want to try to be honest with myself. I did highly enjoy it, but it wasn't the home run I wanted necessarily. I'm going to give this one an 8.5. An 8.5. There's a lot of high moments still for me. It's not like it's a 5 or a 6 or anything like that. I still want a lot of things out. I loved the Night Troopers. I loved Thrawn. I loved Anakin at the end was chef's kiss. Perfect like way to end. Nice tugging at the heartstrings. I just had a few holes I didn't love. Things that didn't set with me completely right. And this is something that might change going forward, depending on how things go in season 2. It might retroactively make this a better episode for me overall. Overall, though, I'm happy I got to watch it. I'm happy it was made well. And I think Dave did a great job. Not the series in general, the series as a whole out of the park. But yeah, that's where I am at this point. 8.5. Well, I can't say about anything more than that. So
that's good. Do you think it was because it was a finale that ended on a setup? Kind of.
It might have been
a little bit of the shine off of it.
It might have been.
This isn't like old school TV where like we're expecting the next season to come back next September. Like we're going to be waiting probably 2 or 3 years.
Right, which is tough. That's always tough, to be honest with you. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's part of what it is. I kind of want a little bit more of a finale, and I maybe I shouldn't, because it's like not like I want season 2. I've always wanted season, even though like if it had ended like a finale, like a series finale, I would still have wanted season 2 because I love the characters. I love seeing more about it. Just some things just didn't set right with me, and maybe again, like I said, maybe I'll change down the way. But overall, it doesn't knock anything off. I still overall love the show. I'm excited about moving forward. I'm about season 2 and Mandalorian and the Mandoverse and eventually the Filoni's movie. It just is what it is. It's not completely my ball wax, but all right. Next up, all right, and our last segment will be, of course, our usual last segment. It is not here to discuss the past.
I'm not here to discuss my past.
Of course, we are not discussing the past. We're discussing what's going to happen in the next season of Ahsoka. That's going to happen, or maybe in Skeleton Crew, maybe in the Mando movie. Who knows what's going to happen? We do, or we think we do. Maybe. Maddie, let's discuss the plans of the future. What do you got?
Filoni, if you're watching this, and I know you do, I know you're a big fan.
Of course.
I'm on to you. I'm on to you, boy. I see what you're doing. I know my Norse mythology. Skull, I know who I fairly set this. I hate the whole like speculation certainty. I like my gut is very rarely wrong, and I got a really strong gut feeling. I know who was talking to Baylan.
Okay. Let's see it. Let's hear it, rather.
Skull is the wolf that chases the sun.
The sun. Not the S-U-N, but the S-O-N. I get what you're going here. A play on words. Which would be very, very apropos for sure.
I think that was the voice that Baylan was hearing was the sun calling to him, and Anakin has fulfilled the father's prophecy of what he wanted for him, for Anakin to become the new father.
Okay. Well, you know what? It's very interesting you say that because, quite frankly, I absolutely 100% agree with you, and that was actually partially mine as well. Not necessarily about the son part. I think that's definitely a side of things which I like. But I think we are on Mortis, and Anakin is on Mortis for a reason. I do believe that at the end of the day, we're going to see Anakin become the father. To do, like, not, because at least filled in that role. And we're going to see Ahsoka fill in the role as a daughter. And I think eventually Balin is going to fill in the role of the son. I think that's what's going to happen eventually because it makes sense in a lot of different ways. Quite frankly, it's actually brilliant in a way because when you think about, you have the character of Anakin Skywalker. Now, Anakin Skywalker is pretty much the character in Star Wars. He's a character that the whole original 6 movies is all about the rise and fall and redemption of Anakin Skywalker. That's really what it is. Post Return of the Jedi, as we move forward, all of our future stuff that we've done, the sequel trilogy, the Mandoverse, and everything else, always kind of has this thing. Well, Anakin is a Force ghost. We could be able to use him that way, but we don't in a lot of reasons. We can't use Anakin going forward. We're going to eventually it's going to be at the point where we're going to have more material because of the way Disney gets to churn out more than Lucasfilm used to, or Lucas used to by himself. We're trying a lot more story in this time frame. So eventually get to the point where like there's a lot more stories without Anakin Skywalker than with Anakin Skywalker. So how can we not change or correct that? But you have a character like Anakin Skywalker you can use still because you have a Force ghost. I think you're almost like tempted to use him, but you don't want to overuse him. This is the way you could actually keep him relevant as a character in Star Wars without A, overusing him, without B, getting him like involved in the day-to-day aspect of things and the day-to-day fights. He doesn't have to appear to Rey every 2 seconds or something like that, or doesn't appear to Luke or anything like that. He is fulfilling his role as a character who could appear whenever you want him to appear, but he's got his own thing going on. So I kind of feel like putting Anakin in this father role fulfills the prophecy aspect of everything. Even more so, I'm kind of a little bit rambling, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to say, I know some people had a problem with the sequel trilogy, for example, because Anakin was the chosen one. Anakin was the chosen one who defeated the Emperor. So anytime we go back past that, and to be completely honest, I understand the argument. There is an argument to be made, and again, and I don't want to like slice anybody else down, but like when you think about it, if Anakin was the chosen one and was supposed to defeat the Emperor to bring balance to the Force, all of a sudden past that, it does cheapen it a little bit in terms of like, well, so it wasn't the end. It wasn't the end of the story. Now we can work past that, and like in my head, I get to the point where like, okay, well, it happens every once in a while, and that's what happens. But sliding him into this role as the one who's destined to bring balance to the Force, it lets Anakin be that chosen one character that he's supposed to be, have to deal with the balance of the Force, and still let all these other stories happen. You know what I mean? It kind of bolsters the Anakin Skywalker aspect of it, and lets you have your cake and eat it too, in a way which I didn't think really could have been possible. Because at the end of the day, I love all the stories we've had post Return of the Jedi, but I've always had a little niggling of like, well, it does kind of like cheapen it a little bit in the world. This lets you have your cake and eat it too.
God, there's also another point. I was wondering if you'd pick up on this, because this is something I feel like you can relate to. Not necessarily, but this is something that I feel like you would get. You specifically, and other people in your situation would get. He wasn't able to be a father to Luke and Leia. So, what's the ultimate redemption for Anakin Skywalker?
To be a father.
To be a father.
Yeah.
He wasn't able to be a father to Luke and Leia. So let him be the father.
And further from that, he was a father figure to Ahsoka already. He really was. So putting her in that daughter role
became the daughter.
So that does check a lot of boxes off, take a lot of boxes off. So I like that. I do like that. There's a lot to like about that. It doesn't mean it's gonna happen, but I kind of feel like it's set up well. It's set up well for it to happen.
And I feel like Balin's kind of being lured in by the son because maybe it's the son playing the same tactic as he tried with Anakin of like, you want to end this war, you want to end this cycle, destroy the Sith. Come to me, and I will give you the power to do it. He's probably playing that same trick on Balin.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's more people that know about the Morris gods. Like they can't. Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka can't be the only ones who've seen them. Like they can't.
Well, obviously, Balin did know about them because obviously this must be what he was alluding to because he mentioned to Shin about stories and the Jedi Temple and things of that nature. So I guess you could say there's an argument because it is a little vague. The argument could be said that the stories in the Jedi Temple were from Anakin and Obi-Wan's visit there. But I kind of feel like there's more to it than that. I feel like there's more going on than that. And I think Balin knows about that. And that's how we're leading into that side of things.
Oh, this isn't even the coolest thing about if this is potentially what is going to be happening. We're missing the coolest point of what could happen is if this happens. Live action Sam Witwer as the son.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitively going to happen at this point.
Give it to me.
I think it's definitively going to happen. I don't see how it can not happen at this point. It just makes sense. It just makes all sense in the world. And
he was on the podcast Inside of You. He's saying that he recently did something for Lucasfilm, but he was like, I'm not going to tell you what.
Right.
I'm wondering.
Well, he obviously hasn't filmed anything yet.
But did he go in and like work it out with Dave and like start? Because to our knowledge, he's the only person that actually Dave Filoni,
yeah. As far as that goes, which is why, quite frankly, I don't think it would take much of a place of going to Lucasfilm. I think it would take a case of Dave going, Sam, we need you. All right, when? That's what I feel.
Now.
Right, when? Okay. You know, just tell me when and I'll be there. I'm excited. That's something for sure.
But then let's flip over to the other side, which I think we're going to get kind of two shows out of this. I think we're going to get Ahsoka season 2. And I wouldn't be surprised if Rebels becomes Rangers of the New Republic.
Wow, I didn't think about that. You
get
Rebels,
Ezra, Hera, Zeb.
Rebels plus Carson Teva. I think that's what you'll get. Carson Teva will just join the crew at that point. Because honestly, the way I thought Carson Teva was going to be the Ranger of the New Republic. I thought that was going to be the case. But making that a Rebels show does add a lot to it. I like that idea a lot. I do. Good thought. Good thought.
Ezra, you get Zeb. I was thinking, who's the guy that plays Jaime Lannister?
Oh,
it's not Jamie Dornan, is it?
No, it's Nicole Walder.
The guy who plays Jaime Lannister. Get him to play Callus.
Nikolaj Coster-Waldau. Yes, absolutely. That could be a good person to do. I like that's a great.
Get him to play Callus.
That could be a great casting choice. And you get Carson Teva in there to fill in the gaps. Absolutely. We could see Rex come into that point. We could have an old man Rex at that point. I mean, he's already old man in Rebels. Who knows where he is now? I know there is that kind of controversy where is he too old now because of the aging process? Probably. But you know what? It's just fucking Star Wars fantasy. You can have him, like, technically speaking, in Legends, Han was still kicking it at like 80 or 90 because like they basically had the explanation that humans lived a little longer in this part of the galaxy than they lived in ours. So fucking let old man Rex run around.
And speaking of the Legends and the fantasy, Thrawn with an army of the dead.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. This is gonna be good. I can't wait.
All right. Why else would he be going to Dathomir?
I agree. That's what they're doing. They're setting up the thing. We're also going to set up, though, a 3-way battle because eventually you got to figure the Night Sisters are going to rebel against Thrawn at some point.
there was that moment where Thrawn said to turn the fire on the monument, and the Great Mothers kind of looked at him like, "Wait, what?
Right.
What the hell do you think you're doing?"
Right.
And I feel they had that Michael Jordan moment of like they took that personally.
True. It's true. Let's have a quick conversation now. Moving forward in this conversation here, the Filoni movie, supposedly summing up the Mandoverse. The big question is, are the big three in it?
Yes.
And how are they in it? Are they the leads of the movie?
No.
Are they just background characters of the movie? Are they supporting roles in the movie?
I think they're going to bring everyone together. There will be people that like take a back, but obviously, I would love for Chopper to be the one that kills Thrawn. Probably not going to happen.
No, not going to happen.
I do. There's no. I saw a meme the other day. There was like where Luke Skywalker, when all this is going on, and he's just like off taking a nap. I was kind of like, of course he'd step in.
Yeah.
He stepped in to help Grogu. Of course Luke's going to step in.
Right.
Thrawn shows up because, like, now the Emperor's gone and Thrawn knows it. Thrawn's going to show up and be like, "Hey, I'm the captain now. We're going to do things like screw your Force wielder. Not the Jedi are out the way." He probably doesn't know about Luke.
Right. Not a idea.
He
the name Skywalker. I'd be like, oh.
Exactly. Imagine the moment where Thrawn realizes Anakin not only has an apprentice, Anakin has a kid. 2.
Yeah. 2 kids. That's true.
He'd be like, "Oh, I've got to deal with Anakin Skywalker's son, who's a Jedi that took out his dad and the Emperor. I've got to deal with this thing."
Yeah. I know. I was wondering what weirds me out about it is I'm kind of thinking about it because right now we have Ahsoka and Sabine in one part of the galaxy. Like, how long do they stay there? Are they there for the duration? We don't know yet. I mean, we could have an Ahsoka. Like, it's hard to imagine having Heir to the Empire and having Luke, Ahsoka all together and stuff like that. But maybe we do.
Maybe
but I do think we have Luke and Leia. We could absolutely have an Avengers portal scene. I do think Luke and Han and Leia are going to be in the movie in a big fashion. I don't know if it's going to be deep fake. I don't know if it's going to be recast. And honestly, I don't want to get. I'm already tired of the discussion. It's going to be a tiring discussion either way. But you can't do it without them. I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense to have
the one that I would say you could probably drop is Han, because I feel like at this point him and Leia would have probably, because this is 10 years, right?
I don't think they will, though. And the reason why, let me cut you off right there. I'm going to say the reason why you're not going to do that. What was one of the biggest complaints about the sequel trilogy? You never got the big three together again. So you're going to get not Han. You didn't get the big three together again. They want to see Han, Leia, and Luke together again. That's what they want.
I'm just saying if there was one that you could pull out the equation to make room for someone else, like Din Djarin or Ahsoka to have a bigger role, he's probably the one that you could pull back, because I think him and Leia are starting to go.
Right.
They will probably be starting to go their separate ways at this time.
I don't disagree. I agree there, but like I said, I just don't see it happening. I feel like if they're going to be there, it's going to be all 3 of them at least, and Chewie. So
I agree. I think we are going to get. I mean, I even just said that I think we're going to get all 3.
The problem that results in, though, is that you're having a 2-hour finale movie with that many. I mean, it almost have to be 3 hours at that point. But you'd have to have Han, Luke, and Leia, and Chewie. Maybe even 3PO and R2, whatever. You have them on Mothma side of things. You're going to have Ahsoka, Sabine, Hera, Ezra. But she'll be there. She would be there. I mean,
how do we know? Maybe someone takes her out.
She's chairman at the point. She might, and maybe that's the case. Maybe he does. That's true. That's true. But even if you take Mon Mothma out of the occasion, that's a lot of characters at this point. Din, Bo-Katan, the Mandalorians, Grief Karga, and those people. Like, if this is all a culmination of the Mandoverse, the Skeleton Crew, which we haven't even met yet. All of them are going to have to be like at least tangentially involved in some way, shape, or form. So it is a little bit worrisome to think about how we're going to get this all done in one movie. I mean, I guess the series doing what the series does will help that in a case, but I don't know. It just seems like it's a daunting prospect. And in Dave, I trust, and I bet you it'll be a fun time. But it is kind of like wow, there's going to be a lot involved in this. A lot involved in this.
True. I think we're still a ways away from it. I think there's going to be more seasons of each of the shows that we may lose people along the way.
That's true.
Maybe Ahsoka stays on Peridia, becomes the daughter. We hear her speak to Rey as the new daughter. She's not. I have a hard time believing she won't be in the battle against Thrawn, but maybe this was the divergence needed because they were never meant to.
And that's what I was wondering too. In the case I was thinking, maybe that was part of my thing. Maybe Ahsoka transcends into the daughter, kicking her out, which is why you have Luke. Because Luke and Ahsoka are kind of like superfluous in a way when it comes to that kind of battle. They're being the lead Jedi. Because if Ahsoka is there, she's clearly more experienced than Luke and probably the lead Jedi. But you can't have that happen and have effing Luke Skywalker be there, who is supposed to be the premier Jedi of the moment at that time. So it's kind of one of the weird things. I always think Ahsoka has to stay. I kind of think Sabine might come back from the galaxy and Ahsoka might not. I think that might be the case what happens. But it does feel kind of weird thinking about that, having Ahsoka have 2 series based around her and have her not be in the final battle somehow. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing.
But you also have then Ahsoka becomes a part of the grander scope of the Force, and she's not just confined to this one battle that we know is just going to be one of many that come after. You know what I mean? Like Ahsoka becomes a part of the larger pantheon. And I also feel like Filoni has enough respect for George to not put his character overshadowing Luke.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I do too. And I hate that argument has to even take place because it's not like you're putting
people
one
gonna
over
make
the
it,
other.
right?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not like people are butting up against each other, but at the same time, it's just fighting for screen time and fighting for significant in the story itself. I'm glad I'm not making the decisions. I'll be honest with you. But I'm excited to see what they do develop with. So, well, alrighty then. I think we will finish up this week. I think we were considering going into what's next on Disney Plus, but I think we're going to save that for our next episode.
I think so.
At this point, there'll be a lot of episodes to come on Holy Snokes and a little time off in between. We don't know when we're getting our next series to review. So we will be back. I'm not sure we're actually going to discuss this on the air. I'm going to be in Arizona next week. So I'm not going to be around for an episode. So I'm going to miss an episode. It's going to be tough me doing Holy Snokes bi-weekly when we've been doing it weekly for so long. Maddie, do you think you are going to be able to hold down an episode, or are you going to take a week off, or what are your thoughts?
I can do an episode. I'm not sure what on yet. I kind of tease with our patrons of firing me hot takes, and I'll roast people's hot takes. Maybe maybe that's a thing I could do. Just a roast of different Red Eyes YouTube channels hot takes, but I don't know.
Fair enough.
We'll figure something out. I got a couple people that I can make a call.
Okay. Well, maybe Maddie will be here next week for you, hosting on his own or with a guest. So stay tuned for that. I'll be watching afterwards for sure. I'm excited about it. And then we will return the week after, and that's when we will do our Disney Plus breakdown of what's coming next, and we'll go from there. Until then, where can the folks find you, Maddie?
You can find me right down there with my updated. Shout out to JP. My updated social media at Matthew Morner. You can find my band Morner, spelled like that, on all DSPs. We mentioned at the start of the show. Go check out Ken Knapsack's new comedy album, In My Day. Go to Bandcamp. I know it's on different streaming platforms, but those streaming platforms rob artists blind. So go to Bandcamp. Bandcamp, I've had a great relationship with for years and years and years. They pay artists fairly. So go check that out there. And yeah, you find me here. Holy Snokes. We back.
Absolutely, my friend. Absolutely. You can find me at Paul_Nuzio on the old Twitter. You can find me at PLD Projects on Threads, Paul Nuzio on Blue Sky, all that good stuff. And yeah, you can find me all over PLD Projects, generally speaking. I know I took a week off. I'm almost taking a week off, but it won't feel like it because we have some things that are going to drop. I have an episode of review dropping next week, of course. Myself and Lico going through the V franchise. Still got episodes of Crown Jewels dropping weekly. This week we're doing Teo Toriate, Let Us Cling Together, the finale from the Day at the Races album. And then next week I'm going to drop the little mini episodes I do on the Day at the Races tour. Or tours that were supporting Day at the Races, and some covers they did, things of that nature. And of course, you can find me every other week on Two Mediocre White Dudes on Film with PJ Campbell. We are headlong into the Friday the 13th franchise. We just dropped our Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning episode yesterday. Next week, or 2 weeks from now, rather, we're going to do Jason Lives, one of the most fan-loved installment in the franchises. We can't wait to talk about that. And if you like us here, hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave us comments, and join us on Patreon, patreon.com/PLD Projects, with people like Austin Cadell, Jeremiah Morris, Matthew Kearns, Brandon Buckingham, Jeff Altman. Couldn't do it without you guys. You really help us keep the lights on. Have some great extra content there. We do a bonus the PPPP PLD Projects Patreon podcast. I do a hangout monthly. We do the Harris Dodds is going live there now as I go through every episode, every installment on the Ed Harris IMDb list there of his credits. I think that should do it. I think that's about everything. So stay tuned next week. Matt will be running the ship on his own. And then the following week, I'll be back and we'll talk more about what's coming up next on Disney Plus for Star Wars. Until then, of course,
May the Force be with you always.